Hello, everyone. Welcome to my stream. It's Grax Bishop. It's me. I'm on my Twitch stream. How you all doing? I just got to get myself nice and comfortable for all these people. Well, including PDT right there. Babe, good to see you again. Let's just make sure I'm actually not talking. Yep, that's good. That's good. All right, all around there. And welcome to my stream. And as the title of this particular stream suggests, I'll be talking about the Avengers Endgame because I watched it on Thursday. And I watched it on Thursday and I gave my thoughts about the actual movie on Twitch. No, the other Twitch, on Twitter. I gave my thoughts about how I felt about it, just like a one sentence, which pretty much sums it up. And then Badly Recorded asked me if I could discuss my thoughts on Twitch so that you can give me some questions and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I thought I'd do, have a little bit of a chat on the internet. And I want to get everybody's opinions on the actual movie itself. Now, I've already heard some other people's opinions, like PDT, who's in the chat right now. I really did think that a lot of the points you were making in your stream made a lot on your blog post, made a lot of sense. And also, I was looking into Emma's post with Vision in Blue. I put her post there, and I thought that would be a good opportunity to, as he's probably going to go do a bell and not turn up now. Well, he might not, but it doesn't really matter. It does matter because I want to hear his viewpoints. I want to hear what everybody thinks, because I'm getting the feeling that I was genuinely worried that I was the only one who thought like this about the movie. But the more I'm looking around, the more I'm realizing actually maybe some people got the same views as me. But as the suggestion points down below, this is going to be filled with spoilers, completely and utterly filled with spoilers, so much so that I put a warning down below. So if you don't want to know what happens in Avengers Endgame, then please stop watching this and then watch it back on playback. Vision in Blue, hello, yes, how are you doing? Welcome to my stream. I'm hoping that you'll be able to share some of your thoughts about Avengers Endgame. And I read your post on the internet and I thought it was very, very honest and very similar to mine, actually. So I think I should stop waffling on a little bit. I think we've got everybody here who might be here right now. And as I'm talking through the stream, by all means, please do give your comments in the chat. I'll be able to see it and I'll respond to it. And I wanted to be like a rough overview of how I felt, and we'll discuss some of the points of the movie. And I think that this would be a nice little bit of fun for everyone. So, as a TLDR kind of summary, I felt that the movie Avengers Endgame was underwhelming, really. I think that whilst the story kind of made sense, I felt like Marvel missed a trick and it mishandled some things. And whilst it was perfectly well executed, as all Marvel movies are, it kind of left me feeling wanting. And it's not the best Marvel movie I saw. It's not the best Marvel movie I saw. The best Marvel movie that I've seen so far is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I truly think that's amazing. So yeah, I would say Avengers Endgame, it's a rental, maybe a matinee, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend paying full price at the cinema, even though people might be really invested in it. So with that being said, I guess one of the questions, but Grax Domain. What did you actually like about Avengers Endgame? What did you actually like about it? I mean, you paid your money, you watched the whole thing from beginning to end. I mean, there were some nice things that I've made some notes on here, and there were some nice things about the movie I liked. I mean, I liked the fact that the story overall made sense. It all made sense. I mean, how else would you be able to get through reverting all the damage that Thanos did? Obviously, you go back in time to try and fix that. There were some nice bits overall. I liked the well-executed sentimental feelings between Captain America and his storylines, Iron Man and his storylines. The bit where they all come through the portals is fucking awesome. The story made sense until Old Man and Cap turned up. Okay, I will address that. I will address that at that point. I mean, that was actually one of the bits I liked. I kind of liked how Captain America's storyline finished up to that point. I mean, ultimately, the special effects were good. I really like the special effects. I mean, ranging from the Hulk looking near realistic, and the big fight scene at the very, very end, that was pretty special. And yeah, it all looked good. But what do you expect? It's Disney. There's got that Mickey Mouse money behind it, which is like unlimited resources of money. It'd be disappointing if it wasn't good looking. Like, say, I don't know, Justice League. So I did like that. I did laugh out loud once. I mean, yes, it was unintentional. I mean, all the other jokes were fine, and they didn't quite land as much as I would like them to. I liked them as much as they'd like to, but the one that really made me laugh out loud is the bit where Scarlett Johansson and what's his name, Black Widow and Hawkeye were like going, who's going to sacrifice themselves? And they were doing this really stupid thing where they were jumping off the cliff and they're saving each other so they can sacrifice themselves. I understand the sentimentality, but it was just so fucking ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. I'm going to knock you out, and then I'm going to knock you out, and I'm going to jump and then stop you from jumping. And it was just like, that was too long. Maybe do it twice and then one of them dies. That would have been fine. That would have been satisfying. But they didn't. They just keep going on and on and on. PT says, I like the bit for Capt, but it makes no sense with him coming to completely breaking the rules they established for time travel early on in the film. That's not quite true, and I heard a theory about that. Emma says, the best bit was me of Captain America Mjolnir, very satisfying. Very signs of this scene from Ultron. Yep. When I was at the cinema, when Captain America picked up the hammer, everybody was like, yeah, woo! And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense in the continuity. Yeah, and that kind of thing is kind of addressed in the comic books. So yeah, I like that. And that also brings to the point where I liked some of the nods that they did to comic books, like in little Easter eggs, I suppose. Like one of the scenes where I can remember is when the Incredible Hulk was holding up all that rubble all by himself. That makes me it reminds me of the front comic book cover of Secret Wars, where the Incredible Hulk is holding up a 1 million ton mountain all by himself. Could the scriptwriters now have thought of a way around getting through the Soul Stone without having to repeat the beats of Gamora's death? I'd like to think so. I like to think they could. And this kind of leads on to the thing which didn't quite rub me the right way. So was there anything else I liked about it? Was there anything else I liked about it? I found the ending quite surprising, how Iron Man sacrificed himself to save the universe. And it's like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I guess it was kind of nice. It was a nice circle kind of feel. The whole MCU started with Iron Man and it now ends with Iron Man in a way. That's quite nice and poetic. I think it being unfair in the humor. Perhaps. Maybe I'm being a bit unfair in the humor, but I just felt like it just didn't land for me. But I will admit there were people laughing in the audience. Several people laughing in the audience, which means that, you know what, maybe the jokes weren't that bad. They just didn't work for me. And I guess that pretty much sums up all the things I did like about the movie, which is kind of bad, really, because there's things it was easier for me to remember the things I did not like. The nostalgia moments during the original Avengers crossover was quite fun, good cameo for me. Okay, so now this is one of the things I didn't quite... Oh, actually, I will say this. I found it interesting that they decided to make a chunk of a movie a time travel heist movie. Just like go back in time. I mean, the whole thing kind of made sense. That is the only way you could fix going back in time, fixing Thanos' halving, wiping out a universe idea. Go back in time and just stop it. I found it interesting the way they wanted to bring the stones from the past to the present. Which is kind of interesting. But in a way, I just felt like it seemed like a cheap money-saving exercise. And the reason why I say it's a money-saving exercise for Marvel and for Disney is it's like all they need to do is replay the same footage maybe I'm being too harsh, but replay the same footage from the previous movies, which helps them to save money and budget and all that kind of stuff. And I guess I wanted something new, but I understand why they did it. Like for example, like as you mentioned, who Emma, for example, with the idea of Loki finding the stone, it was the Tesseract, the cosmic cube, and using that to escape, which explains how Loki is able to have his own mini-series in the future, even though he's dead in the Infinity War. I mean, that was kind of okay, but I felt like I wanted something new rather than going, or at least summarize the time travel bit. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you're right, PDT. They didn't repeat all the footage. It was just like some of the footage, and they did reshoot it. But I guess what I was trying to say is, I guess I wanted something new. I don't know how they would have done that though, or at least just try to shorten it down. Mind you, I did actually like the bit where Iron Man, Tony Stark, and Steve Rogers did actually go further back into the 70s to get the gems and to get the pin particles to fix it. And that was genuinely a nice scene where Tony met his dad and all that kind of stuff. They had a father-son bonding moment, and I thought that was genuinely good. Hey, badly recorded. Good to see you here. But that's an interesting point. The biggest issue for me was the terrible CGI on the suits that allowed them to jump through time. Was it that bad? I didn't think it was that bad. I guess that was the least of my worries in terms of how it looked. Did anyone care about Thor 2? Want to go back there? No, I didn't really care about Thor 2. I found it interesting. I was like, oh, okay, they've got Natalie Portman. They must have rehired her. And it's like, oh no, wait, they just reused that same scene and just superimposed Rocket Raccoon to fix all that. And I was like, okay, that's fair enough. But I don't know. I felt that the entire time heist thing was maybe a little bit too long. There are some things that just didn't quite make sense and some plot points, and I'm being nitpicky here. Like, for example, all right, so Thanos is dead. 5 years later, everyone's mourning and all that kind of stuff. And then Scott Lang comes back and he tries to explain, let's do time travel using the quantum realm. Tony Stark's like, no, that can't be done. You can't be done. And he's like, okay, yes, it can be done. It can be done because I've done it. And then Tony goes, no, I'm just going to go away. And then he's just has that curiosity thing. And then he goes into his workshop and spends an evening and he cracks it. He solves it just like that. And that didn't ring too true with me because it's like, well, why didn't you figure that out 5 years ago? You're clearly a smart enough man. And I don't see why the act of Scott Lang coming back sparked Tony's inspiration to, try and solve this puzzle, which you can clearly solve really easily. I don't know, it didn't sit too true with me. I heard Pete was complaining about, well, not complaining, was saying that he found the whole timeline thing a bit confusing and almost breaking its own rules. So in storyline, Bruce Banner talks to Sorcerer Supreme, and she's like going, look, when you get one timeline, if you move the stones, you create multiple universes and that kind of stuff. That creates multiple universe theories. And then Bruce Banner says, no, if we put the stones exactly back the way they were, then time will be back to normal. But the biggest problem here is Steve Rogers going back and living his full life that breaks all the timeline thing. And the way to explain that, and I picked up this theory from the YouTube channel Comics Explained by Rob Jefferson. The explanation is they're now in a new universe. It's now an alternative timeline. Because time has changed. The act of Steve Rogers coming back in time to relive his whole entire timeline to an old man, and that Loki managed to escape his prison and escape from dying, has created a new universe. So this is now the universe, and the old one is just forgotten about. Wait, hang on. The MCU is now the Marvel Prime timeline? Interesting. That's interesting. That goes back to the idea of, comics now trying to emulate more and more the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I never thought of it that way. And I don't think Scott Lang would have known that much about quantum physics, certainly not to the point where you can actually go to the others and say, look, quantum travel is possible. Maybe they explained that in Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's one of the movies I didn't see. I didn't see Marvel Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is a bit of a shame because it ended up being a bit of a spoiler for me during the trailer because I didn't know he was trapped in the quantum realm in the final movie. But yeah, that was one of the things that didn't quite make sense. And I guess this leads us on to what I think is the biggest problem with the whole movie for me, and it's the way it handled some of the characters. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking, what was it that not really gelled with me for the whole movie? And I think it's because a lot of the characters were not handled very well. They were kind of like disregarded, or they were just not treated as well as I would like them to be treated. First off, Thanos. Thanos had like a nice send off at the very, very beginning of the movie, which was actually nothing. I was super shocked. It's like, okay, Thanos has destroyed the soul, the Infinity Stones, and they kill him within the first 20 minutes of the movie. That's it. It's like, well, that was a bit of a shock. I wasn't expecting that at all. And I felt like in Infinity War, he was a much nicer, rounded, almost sympathetic character. But when they went back in time to kind of sort this out, and then Thanos was like, what's going on here? I noticed all this. Is it me, or did he just seem like a boring villain at that point? I felt like he just kind of lost some of his character. I felt like he just started to do like some bog standard super villain tropes that I will destroy the universe and all that kind of stuff. I felt like he lost some of his character. I felt like he lost some of his character. And I think it was partly because there was just not enough time for properly develop it, or people just assumed they saw the first Infinity War and it's like, okay, we don't need to develop Thanos. We know what he's all about. But I felt like he was kind of like, forgotten about. PDT, Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Yes, absolutely. You are right. I felt like she was just like underused. She's hardly in the movie. What does she do? She pops up at the very beginning and goes, yeah, I'm a fucking badass. Let's go kill Thanos. And then and then they all fly. Well, no, actually, no. First off, she happens to find Iron Man and Nebula, like lost in the space and everything. And they say, oh, I'll just save you now. And then it's like, oh, we'll kill Thanos. And then she's like, oh, I'm just going to piss off for the next 2 hours of the movies, and only to come back at the end to like try and resolve everything to help save the day, almost like Superman. And it's like, you haven't really developed her character very much. She's just kind of like a boring, unlikable character. It's just unlikable in the sense that she's arrogant, unnecessarily so. And you did a really big job trying to make her really likable in her previous movie, and for it to be used a couple of times in this movie, and it's like, I felt like you kind of undid all the hard work you did before. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, they needed like, yeah, she felt like a MacGuffin. She felt like a MacGuffin to try and quickly and easy solve all these issues because she's super powered, and like, I don't even know if she's that strongly powerful. I don't think she's that powerful to be able to destroy a ship in one striking swoop. But people are as powerful as the writer needs them to be. But yeah, I just felt like they were trying to give her such a big push, and they didn't. So that left a bit of an odd taste in my mouth. The biggest problem for me, well, one of the biggest problems, was Hulk and how he became the Professor Hulk off screen. So what happens is, it's like Bruce Banner is just Bruce Banner, and then 5 years pass, and then he suddenly becomes Professor Hulk. It's like, that seems really disrespectful for such an important time in the Hulk's history. The idea of being like, Bruce Banner has a talk with the Savage Hulk and Joe Fixit in his mind, and they all decide to merge together to become the Professor Hulk, and it's like a really big deal. And they just like, yeah, I just had a chat with myself, and I'm the Hulk now for all the time. I said, no, I just like maybe like a couple of minutes, just like to show the drama and the tension, trying to get all this working together. And it's like, okay, you just kind of like brushed it over and just disregarded to try and get the story moving forward. And it's like, no, he deserves more than that. And he just turned into a bit of a goofball. It's like, no, I don't think Professor Hulk is a goofball. He's a bit more serious than being like a wisecracking clown. But then again, was the Professor Hulk a bit of a goofball in the 90s? I don't know. Maybe he was. So, yeah, I just thought, and I felt like he just could have been done better. And he's nowhere near as powerful as like the Savage Hulk or anything like that. He would never get angry. I mean, he even showed us like when we went back in time, we seen the Savage Hulk being really brutal, and Professor Hulk's like, no, I'm never going to get that angry. I just felt really embarrassed. It's like, he's never going to be. Maybe that's why they did it. Because if the Incredible Hulk was as powerful as he claimed to be, then maybe he could have beat Thanos by himself, and they needed to power him down because we needed to get the big three people like Iron Man, Tony Stark, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor to try and beat Thanos. I don't know. It was a writer's choice. Yeah, and I guess that was also part of the problem why I didn't like Venom, the Venom movie, because he was a huge goofball. But you're right, the 90s was a pretty bad time for comics. Everybody was a goofball, and I forget that. Yeah, so the Hulk was just kind of like mishandled. I think the biggest thing, and this is one of the problems I hear from other people about this next character, which includes PDT and Vision and Blue. I need to get a slice of cake before line of duty, but thank you, Grax. Very, very welcome, badly recorded, and thank you for stopping by. And if you want to like leave some comments later on, I'm going to post this on YouTube. By all means, come back later and write your own thoughts. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. But I think going back to what I was about to say, the biggest character which I think was mishandled was Thor. Thor's character was, I really didn't like how they handled him. It's partly because I like Thor. He's like he's not my super favorite character, but I do like him a lot, and I like him in the storylines. He's a noble warrior. He's strong, and he's quite humorous, quite human. And in this, after cutting off Thanos' head, he just turns into a laughingstock, the butt of everybody's jokes. Not even a very funny joke. It's just like, oh, he's fat. And he's wearing clothes to make him look like the Big Lebowski. Hey, do you remember the Big Lebowski? He looks like the Big Lebowski. And it's like, huh? No, you got to give him a bit more than that. And it's, I don't know. Why? Why did he make him so bad? He's suffering from a big problem. He's got like mental problems. It sounds like he's got like real serious issues with failing to save the universe, and that's why he's turned to drinking and just like forgetting his problems. These are big issues, and I guess I wouldn't have minded that it was a bit of a joke to begin with, but they just kept. In terms of him being fat and useless, but they just kept running with the joke and running, and it's just not funny. I liked him in Infinity War because Thor had a nice blend of comedy and seriousness. The balance was right, and I felt like in this one the balance was too wrong. It was too much in the goofball area, and that was one of my problems I didn't like about Thor Ragnarok. It's just like, this is a serious character, and they've just turned him into a clown. And it's like, no, he's more than that to them. And I think it's partly because I think I remember reading an interview somewhere. Yeah, went to Guardians of the Galaxy with Thor. Yeah, you're right. The sense of humor doesn't quite fit. And I think I remember an interview Chris Hemsworth saying like, I was playing Thor in the first Thor movie in Avengers and in Thor Dark World, and it was just like this whole Shakespearean stuff wasn't working, so he decided to try and turn it into a new direction, and that's where the whole Thor Ragnarok comedy thing comes in. So I think they were saying, and who's the director? Who's the director for Ragnarok? It was them like making an attempt to change the direction of Thor. I read the Mary Sue article PDT mentioned in his blog and very much agree with everything that was said in that. I didn't actually read that article. I read PDT's bit, but I didn't click onto other articles that were there. So I think that's why they could have did it. And I feel like Marvel were looking at the comedy elements of, Thor Ragnarok, huge success with the audience. Guardians of the Galaxy, huge success with the audience. You know what that means? Comedy is the way to go. So let's keep going with this comedy angle and not really develop the character. And it's like, no, Thor deserves better. I think that Kevinizing the character was terrible and gotten worse since. I think the balance wasn't there. But I'm thinking, what could they have done? I don't know what they could have done at this point to start the joke, and then it's like, okay, I'm taking shit seriously. I'm Thor. I'm taking shit seriously, but I've still got a huge fucking gut. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know why you would go with that, but I think that was a misstep. I guess the whole problem with the whole handling of the different characters, it just makes me think that this isn't an Avengers movie. This is an Iron Man, Captain America movie, and everybody else is just kind of there in the background. And it's like even when everybody just going back in the side, mate. The bit which made me laugh out loud in front of the audience, and I felt embarrassed, was where Hawkeye and Black Widow was like fighting to try and see who would sacrifice themselves. And yeah, you're right, Pete. I think they could have tried to write something better than to repeat the same storyline of just kill yourself or you'll get the soul stone. But it was just stupid. But when the Black Widow, when she died, I was like, well, that's Scarlett's contract finish, and she decided not to renew it. That's fine. I never liked her character to begin with. From the very beginning, I didn't like Scarlett Johansson's character, and I was like, oh, okay, well, she's gone, fine. So I didn't feel any sadness. And that's the thing, I just didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything bad with any of the characters. Like in other characters, like in other movies, I felt a connection. I cared what happened to all these characters. But in this movie, so I was like, oh, okay, I don't really mind. Shut the door. Breaking news, she's got a solo movie coming? Really? Yes, she does. She does have a single movie coming out. I completely forgot about that. It's coming in phase 4. But then why is she dead? I guess maybe that's what they're going to do with the Marvel movies. It's like, okay, Endgame was the Endgame, but we still got all these stories to tell, which happened beforehand, so stay tuned, folks, for all these solo movies. So either it's a prequel or comics. I mean, Captain Marvel movie was a prequel of sorts. So yeah, that's probably how they do it. And who knows, maybe they'll go, if people like Professor Hulk, well, we could make a movie out of that. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that would make some sense, I suppose. It's kind of like a little feeder to say, okay, if people want to really hear that story, we'll tell that story, we'll tell it in a movie. We'll do it justice. I mean, you can't really fit in the entire Professor Hulk storyline in like a short 5-minute bit of a movie. I never felt like Hawkeye loved Black Widow enough to have got the Soul Stone after she died. It would have been funny if he didn't get it. Yeah, that would have been a real head fuck right there. But what was I going to say? Yeah, it was the Iron Man and Captain America movie with everybody else being peppered in all around, which I guess is not so bad. That was kind of the problem with Civil War. It was a Captain America Iron Man movie with everybody peppered around, and that's a general problem, I think. I don't know how you guys feel, but how do you manage to fit everybody in to get enough screen time? It's a tricky one. Some people have to be in the limelight, in the spotlight. They have to lead the story. But yeah, it just didn't care for any of the characters. Oh, and a side note, the final battle, I did like that. That was pretty good, and it all made sense. It all really did make sense, with everybody coming on board, with all the armies fighting everyone. But hey, it's okay. We treated the women poorly because look at all the look at them all escorting the gauntlet together. I'm glad you brought that up because that was my next point. That was so on the nose, wasn't it? All the girls that everybody liked. So we got all the girls from the Black Panther movie. We got all the girls from Guardians of the Galaxy. Got all the girls from Ant-Man and the Wasp and other people. I can't remember. Oh yeah, Valkyrie, everyone, all the girls, Captain Marvel, they were there, women assembled. Yeah, thank you very much. Over and over 88. And as soon as that happened, in my mind, Spice Girls was playing in my head. I just wanted them to change the soundtrack with Wannabe playing in the background as they were doing all their stuff. And I was like, oh, that would have been fine. You know, like in Captain Marvel, where they just played the song I'm Just a Girl by No Doubt. And then that was just like, yeah, I was on the nose. But I think Spice Girls would have made that movie 10 times better. But yeah, I don't... And the thing that really bothers me in terms of those like all women teams is like, you're just going the other extreme. On one extreme is just all men and sexist, and I agree that there needs to be more women representation. But then the other side of the extreme is like, no, you're not really. You're just doing the exact opposite. It would have been better if it was a mix. All right, mostly women, but like a few men peppered in. It would have been like felt more natural. 10 points for good execution, minus 15 points for poor execution. Absolutely, entirely. I see what they were trying to do, and I suspect there will be some women who are like, yeah, I feel represented, but it's like, yeah, too on the nose. I mean, Peter Parker's back. That's pretty nice, right? Everyone cheered for him in the audience. Like, yeah, Peter's back. It's the real hero of the story. But yeah, that was kind of a nice point. But I don't know. It just didn't gel very well. Was there anything else I wanted to say? I think that was basically it, and I really do think that that's the biggest problem. I could have handled all these other problems like pacing. I think I could have handled the problems with things not making sense. And I did try and like the movie 100%. I wanted this to be the best thing ever. I wanted this to be a better than sex kind of movie, but it just didn't. And that's the other thing. I think before the movie came out, I listened to a whole bunch. I had to listen to a whole bunch of theories about what the movie could be like, what's the potential storyline could be like. And I think the majority of us thought time travel was the only way to make this work. But there are other storylines that I heard other people's theory sounded better than what we got. And I think that they also missed a trick. Marvel movies missed a trick just to like radically change things. They could do things like get new actors in. They could like have a nice, fun way of wrapping up contracts for actors, but continue the Captain America, Iron Man, all these kind of storylines, but introducing new actors. They could say they've reset the timeline, but not quite, and that's why we got different actors. That's what I thought, and I thought that would have been great. Alpha Forever's done like a test. I'm going to take a look at that. Sorry guys, I can't use my Valkyrie powers to help you. I have to look after the fishermen. Yeah, that's a fair point. Oh yeah, that was another thing. It's like Thor was just like handing over his reign to Valkyrie to look after the fishermen. It's like, just because I'm going to be who I am, which is, what the fuck are you, Thor? You're. I know what you are. You're Simba. You're teenage Simba from The Lion King when he runs away with all his friends to forget about his responsibilities and ruler and all this kind of stuff. And you just want to have a carefree life. And at some point in the future, you got to come back when Scar has taken over the fishermen. And you're like, it's up to me now to become the Lion King. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Huh. The Joy of Anal Fisting, huh? Never seen that movie. Yeah. I don't think it would have been as popular adding new actors right at the end. I don't know. I just things have slightly changed, but virtually everything stayed the same, and it seems a little bit anticlimactic. Like in the Secret Wars store, in the Secret Wars comic book storyline, where they spent months preparing for this big event, where reality of all the multiverses were completely destroyed, except when Doctor Doom, spoiler alerts for the Secret Wars comic book, uses will to keep everything as it is, and then that was interesting because it promised to completely rewrite Marvel Comics forever, and they didn't in the end. They just sort of tweaked a few bits and pieces, and it just stayed exactly the same. And it's like, oh, you had an opportunity to be interesting and different, and you chose not to do it. And I feel like there's a lot of, or it's all like you have an interesting start to a story, and then it kind of fizzles out because you can't quite figure out what to do, and it just becomes lackluster. And I feel like that's kind of what Marvel Comics kind of do in a way. I just felt like that I wanted more, and I felt like I promised myself more, and I let myself down. But I understand why it all went the way it did, and it did all make sense in the end. The storyline did make sense. Everything was wrapped up very, very nicely with enough of a gap to try out new different things. Iron Man ending was very, very noble. Although how are they going to bring back a new Iron Man? I don't know. Riri, for example. Captain America was a very sweet ending, which is very similar to what happened in the comics. Nice wrapping up. Thor. Yeah. You can't change too much for people like Spidey, Strange, and the Guardians because they own shit back together. How would they bring back new Iron Man where you can get War Machine and Rescue right there? Yeah, but they're not... Are they interesting characters? I mean, they might be interesting characters. But the big key thing is, they're not Iron Man. Unless they take up the Iron Man mantle, which is entirely possible, they are just War Machine and they are just Rescue. Which is cool. I thought that was quite cool. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums everything up. And I really wanted to try and like the movie, but I just felt underwhelmed, and I didn't feel the need to cheer like everybody else in the cinema. And I don't know. Brody has been Iron Man before. He was Iron Man in Secret Wars. Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. Okay. Yes. You got your point there. You got your point there right there, Pete. So yes, someone else could take up the Iron Man mantle. Hell, they could do something crazy like when Marvel movies and when Disney throw in enough money to do CGI graphics, they can buy the likeness to Robert Downey Jr. and CGI an Iron Man hologram head, like they did for a bit in the comics. That'd be quite cool. Cheetah was much better than the guy whose name I can't remember the first Iron Man movie. Well, he's stuck around. He's been a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? Consistent. Absolutely. So yeah, that's my summary. I thought it was a okay film, but that's not. But because it was an okay film and I wanted something amazing, I didn't get it, and that's why I think it's just it's a rental, or maybe go to the cinema really cheap. I don't think I could recommend just going, you must see this movie now. I mean, yeah, do see this movie for the sense of the completion, but I don't know. I felt the whole thing was disappointing. What about you people in the chat? Pete and Emma, just feel free to write your overall summary in the comments section right now. And you can spoil as much as you like, because hell, I've been spoiling the hell out of this movie. And one thing I will do is I'll be posting this video on YouTube. On YouTube for people to watch back and later on, and for people to leave comments down below in the section, and I will read every single one and try and comment back, I would generally be interested. I feel like I do genuinely feel like I'm the odd one out. I've listened to some reviews online. Let's see. I've listened to some reviews online, and a lot of them seem favorable. Not perfect in some cases, but much more favorable than what I'm giving it. So what's it say in the chat? Let's see. Let's see. To be fair, I'm sure they had something interesting to do with Tony Stark as AI and hologram or whatever you, then Robert Downey Jr. would consider reprising it. Maybe. I was thinking of Robert Downey Jr. might be back as Vision style thing after downloading his consciousness. I haven't liked either of those films as much as I wanted to. Yeah, I agree. I actually, come to think of it, I remember watching Avengers Assembled in the UK, Avengers in the US. I remember watching that first movie and thinking it was good, but oh yeah, that was it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. The first movie I didn't quite like as much because it, and this is going to sound very contradictory, it seemed like a superhero kind of movie where there were no consequences. Everybody was just going through the motions and the heroes always won. There was no real sense of danger. And it also felt like a TV movie. Because I would say it's because of Joss Whedon's style of writing, I think. But it was still a good movie. I just remember feeling that it wasn't that good. And I remember feeling that Infinity War was great. It just did everything how I wanted it to. And the way that Thanos won at the end was perfect for me. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how I liked some Marvel movies more than ever. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I like Ant-Man. And they're different movies compared to all this. Let's see, I've seen it twice because I wanted to see it in 2D and 3D. But I probably wouldn't have gone to if I had taken a day off. Yeah, it was in 3D. I don't bother with 3D films because for me, it always looks too blurry. And the 3D effects are just not worth it. Is it that much better in 3D? Emma, is it really that much better in 3D? I don't know. I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say about the movie. If you want to watch it, go watch it, but I couldn't recommend it. And so the next movie to watch, really, for me is... See, that's the thing. I just keep thinking back to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It was just such a brilliant movie compared to this. But the next one, I don't know. We'll see. I won't be excited to go watch another Marvel movie now. I don't think so. I think that I'm done. Not in the sense of I will never watch another Marvel movie. I will boycott them all. But I'll just wait for them to come out on video or something like that. I won't have to rush to the cinema. Much like with the Star Wars movies. I'm not going to rush out and watch them because I think I'm done with them. It was actually surprisingly good visually in 3D, better than other recent offerings. I did see that there was a decent cam copy there out there now. It's got some Chinese subtitles, by the wise. Not that I would have condoned downloading it. Yeah. I saw that news article as well, which is not really surprising because it's such a big movie. It's going to break all the records and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, here's a question for you guys in the chat. And I think I'll wrap this up for now. Here's a question for you guys in the chat and also the comments down below. Whether you liked the movie or not, whether you thought it was amazing or whether you thought it was just all right, what would you do to make it a better movie? What would you do to make Avengers Endgame a better movie? I think for me, and I think that's a tough one. I mean, the obvious answer for me would be, just make the characters better. Just make the characters more likable. Just make Thanos as interesting as he was before. Just make Thor still have his problems, but not take him as a joke. And so there's something else. And stop being so on the nose with your pushing woman agenda. And I hate saying that. I really do hate saying that. I think women in cinema and all that kind of stuff is great and fantastic, and they should get more representation. But the way they just did it was so on the nose. So that's the obvious stuff. But I can't think what else they could have done to make it better. Make Endgame 2 movies, so it has it as a trilogy. Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Avengers a third part. Make it longer. It was originally going to be 3 movies, I think. I remember reading that. Huh. Would that be better? Because that way it would have more time for everything to develop, and they could do a lot more writing. I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know if people would be satisfied with waiting for a third movie. I mean, that would be a lot of money. Yeah. Stop Thor's being taken as an on-screen joke. And I was cut out a fair bit of the first hour that was basically setting up Captain's ending, which is, yeah, you're right. The first part was a little bit long and not very action-packed filled, sorry. It was like, I think for me, I really didn't like the fact that they just found Iron Man that quickly, and there you go. It felt jarring. I think what I would have done is... I think what they would have done is take the somber bit where everyone's like, oh, half the world is gone. Put that at the beginning. Then Captain Marvel comes back and says, yeah, let's sort this shit out. Then they fly off to beat Thanos. They pick up Captain America, Iron Man along the way. So there's a nice pacing there. What else? And then I don't know. Beat Thanos halfway through, but then they go, oh shit, that didn't work. Then use the Soul Stone to get... I don't know. I think the order was a bit wrong. Maybe like fight Thanos, smash him up, and then it didn't work, and then go back in time as like the end point. Yeah, that might work, just like a reshuffling of bits and pieces. I don't think they need to hack up Hawkeye's previous story. It didn't add anything to the end game at all. No, it really didn't. It didn't. I mean, his whole point of being Ronin, what's the point? Yeah, it really didn't add anything at all. They will say this, though. I mean, the way they've done it this way, the fact that now there's an alternative timeline, which is one of the other theories I heard of in Comics Explained, but now it's an alternative timeline, they can introduce the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in this universe because, hey, they've always been there. They've always been there, but it wasn't mentioned before because it's an alternative timeline. And maybe they go to the Ultimate Universe storyline in terms of introducing the X-Men. Because in the Ultimate storyline, Captain America was the first super soldier. And then Canada was like, yeah, let's make our own super soldier. And that's where they injected James Howlett, a.k.a. Logan, with some super soldier stuff. And they realized, oh, wait a minute, there's some mutant genes. And then that's where it all came from there. That's a very quick summary of sorting that out. Hawkeye could have been split into 2 films rather than the films, the arc. The alternative timelines were created at specific points. Yeah, okay, yeah, that would make... Well, the specific point would be 1970s. That would have been the specific point. So that would be the resetting starting point of the universe where they can introduce all this kind of stuff. I think that's how it goes. I mean, that's how I interpreted the theory. But yeah, you're right. it's not quite mutants have always been there. If I'm wrong, then correct me if I'm wrong. But in terms of the Ultimate Universe, mutants were kind of created when James Howlett, aka Wolverine, was created, and it kind of spawned from there. But I'm not too well versed. I'm not too knowledgeable about the whole Ultimate Universe storyline. Let me know in the comments if I've got it right or wrong. But yeah, ultimately, I think that's what I would do. I refuse to think about the origins of mutants in the Ultimate Universe. That's fair enough. But I guess we'll just wait and see. But I am kind of interested in seeing what they'll do with X-Men and with the Fantastic Four. Who knows? Chris Evans could take up his role as the Human Torch once again. No, that would never happen. So I think that is a good point to stop this stream right here, because I just wanted to give my thoughts about the movie and put it out there, and I want people to say, yes, you're right, Grax, or no, you're wrong, Grax, and this is why. And thank you very much, everybody who's been joining me on the stream, and let me know your thoughts. I really do value it. And these people all mainly include, let's see who's been in the chat today. We've got PDT the Geeky, we've got Vision in Blue, we've got Badly Recorded, we've got, who else has been here? Skinny Seahorse, S1 Fucker, Over and Over 88, Joda Fleet, Electronic Board, Commander Roots, and Apricot Droop Fruit. Yeah, all those delicious, delicious bots. I found it interesting they decided not to bring back the Vision. On a side note, it's like, wasn't he quite of a big deal? No, he wasn't.